introduce our speaker of today is Stacy Masushi. Stacy Masushi, she is a publisher from Elsevier, and she has over 20 years of publishing experience spanning newspapers, commercial printing, and book and digital content. She is currently the publisher for translational medicine at Elsevier, where she leads an international team of acquisitions editors that research, acquire, develop, and publish research reference content under Elsevier's academic press imprint for over 16 disciplines. Stacy holds a master's degree in publishing from George Washington University. Stacy, I leave the floor to you. All success, and thank you all for being here.
Well, thank you so much. That was a really lovely introduction. I also just want to add that in addition to my formal education in publishing, I also just have a real love for books, and I am an avid book supporter. And in today's world, that's not always a very popular opinion. We live in a digital age, and people often think that books are antiquated. And I hope that through this presentation, you will see that my support of books is really clear and really strong, and I hope that it excites you. And also, just on a personal note, I live in upstate New York in the United States, right outside of the capital, which is Albany, New York, with my husband and two sons, and we have two cats as well. So today I'm going to be covering Saudi Arabia and their standing in academic publishing. I'm going to give you an overview of the different content types. Then I'm going to go into the difference between authoring a book and editing a book. I'm going to explain to you the entire publishing process for books, including how to create a strong proposal, selecting the right publisher, and all of the phases from contracting through marketing. So let's begin. So Saudi Arabia has a very impressive academic presence, and in research from 2015 to 2020, they boast over 152,000 scholarly articles, and that's by over 80,000 authors. And these articles have received over 1 million citations. And in that wheel on the right, you can see the many areas of academic publishing that Saudi authors tackle each and every year. So let's take a closer look at your university. So Jazan University contributes heavily to this academic presence. The university is the 14th largest contributor of scholarly output for all universities within the entire country. In research from 2015 to 2020, the university contributed nearly 3,000 scholarly articles by over 1,400 authors, and they received nearly 24,000 citations. And the wheel on this slide will show you all of the areas of academic publishing that the university has contributed to. And all of these numbers are very impressive and something to be quite proud of. The relationship between Saudi authors and Elsevier continues to grow, and you can see this in that chart on the left. And it shows tremendous growth that we've shared together since the year 2000. We've seen over 12,000 authors and editors and over 1,800 authored chapters within our books, and that's over 500 books. And we would like to continue to grow this partnership with you. So in this chart on the left, you can see some of the subject areas of publication that we've had from Saudi Arabia with Elsevier. You can also see the top 5 areas on the right-hand side of the screen, but all of the areas in this chart are in demand and they're ready for partnership with you. This slide background highlights some of the titles that we've published by Saudi authors and editors. And on the right-hand side is just a short list of some of the affiliations from which those authors, editors, and contributors have come from. And as you can see, the content is as vast as the institutions that we've worked with. So let's work today so that we can gain a better understanding of the book publishing process, so we can see your name, affiliation, and book in this slide in the future. So now I'm going to give you an overview of the various types of content that we publish at Elsevier. So we regard all books as the knowledge repository from which we learn. And you're going to see this below the pyramid at the very bottom. Then right up from there, you're going to see our major reference works. And these are positioned down at the bottom of the pyramid because they are those comprehensive and foundational introductions to a particular discipline area. And they're often presented as the encyclopedias or the reference modules that you use. As you glance up the pyramid, you're next going to see textbooks. And these provide those pedagogical examinations of a particular subject area, and it gives you the concepts and the methods that are used. Textbooks provide the knowledge required when you're studying in a discipline. One level above those textbooks are the handbooks, and these tend to compile data sets and methods and the processes and the techniques that are specific to a particular field, and they're often going to provide those quick answers that you need while you're on the job. Next on the pyramid are those monographs and single volume references, and these include both authored and edited works. And these titles are comprehensive, they show advanced and detailed descriptions, and they give in-depth coverage of any particular subject area. They also tend to be interdisciplinary. Next on the pyramid are serials, and these are highly cited publications, and they offer an in-depth look at the latest developments in a particular field. Finally, at that very tip, you're going to see the journal review articles and primary research, and this is which contains the most recent advances in the field. And all of these formats work together to answer the questions of researchers and students along their learning journey. And when considering authoring, you should consider which type of content you're interested in pursuing. So what I'd like to do now is do a poll. I'm going to ask you about what type of content is most useful to your research. And you should be able to see that poll on your screen. We're getting a few responses in. I'm just going to give it a minute. Okay, I'm going to end the polling in 3, 2, 1. Okay, and so it looks like journal articles, you should be able to see the responses here, come ahead at 46%. Then we have tied journal review articles and a combination of all of the above. And then we have textbooks in there as well. So thank you very much for letting me know what you're currently using. So some of you might be wondering why Elsevier would even host a session on books. You're thinking that they're old-fashioned, and if we think about it, the printing of the book is actually a 15th century technology that comes from the year 1440. And if you do a Google search of "is the print book dead?", you're going to find over 1 million articles that debate that very topic. So I'm here today to tell you that there's never been a more exciting and more important time to be involved in book writing. And to understand this, I need to explain a few things to you. First, we're going to start with the differences between journal and book content. Both book and journals provide very different types of content, but it is for this very same reason that they're fundamentally interlinked with one another. Journal articles provide you with that in depth knowledge of growing disciplines. It's specialized knowledge for a distinct area, it has a very narrow focus, and it goes into extreme depth of coverage. And it's going to focus on the very latest research and newest results that are out there. And all of this is so important to both researchers and students. But book content, on the other hand, provides breadth in connecting different disciplines together. It has a broad overview of topics. It allows for expert opinions on multiple foundational topics and the complexity of differing opinions that can all be collated into one source. Finally, books have the ability to provide related fields, methods, and materials all in one place. And all of this is equally important to researchers and students. So, what does that really mean? Very simply, researchers and students need both types of content to build their complete knowledge of any given topic area. And the book has come a really long way, and I don't just mean from when it was on papyrus. So let's go back to that 15th century technology. When the printing press was invented in 1440, it was one of the most influential events in the second millennium. But books over the last 20 years have really changed. They are not the same tomes that came out of that Gutenberg press. Books used to be read cover to cover, start to finish, page one to the very end, and that is no longer true. After the first e reader hit the market around 1997, books were no longer the same. People began to navigate exactly to the part they wanted, they began marking that, and only reading what they needed when they needed it. And around that same time, publishers began to see a need to organize data and make it searchable, discoverable, and available to people when they needed it. And that is where the magic happened. One example of this is Elsevier Science Direct. We've taken all of the types of content that I've talked to you about today, those major reference works, the journals, ebooks, monographs, serials, series, handbooks, and we've applied machine learning and artificial intelligence to find the exact answers that researchers are looking for. And studies have shown that the use of Science Direct shortens the research process, saving an average of 47 minutes a day. Books on Science Direct have the highest relative citation impact among all of the major book publishers in Scopus at 2.1. And it's a really nice statistic, but you might be thinking to yourself, with all the content that's out there, how does my book get noticed? But one of the keys to discoverability is our Science Direct topic pages. Those are generated using that automated technology I was talking about, and they apply natural language processing and AI techniques so that it surfaces the most relevant snippets of information from reference books and journals together in succinct, summarized pages. And then they are directly searchable on Science Direct, hyperlinked from key terms in both journals and book chapters. And best of all, they're freely discoverable through search engines. So Science Direct has topic pages in 20 distinct domains, over 650,000 hyperlinks to and from pages across all of Science Direct. This is a platform dedicated to the discoverability and co-usage of your book. Due to the use of machine learning and AI aiding in the discoverability of that book content, I believe books are now used more widely, harnessed more accurately for what they were written for, and accessed faster than ever before. And that's why I truly believe that today is the best time for you to be writing a book. So I have another poll for you. I just want to take a moment and find out if you've used Science Direct topic pages. And if so, have they been useful for you? And the poll should be launched on your screen. Okay, I am going to end the polling and share that with you. So we have about 56% of the people on the call say that they're very useful, followed up by 28% it's somewhat useful, and then 12% have not heard of them, and 4% find them not useful. And I hope for the group that has not heard of them that this session helps you, and you're able to find those and utilize those in the future. Thank you for those results. So by now, I hope that I've convinced you that writing a book is definitely a worthy effort. And it's time to now determine if you want to be an editor or an author. So when you're thinking about this, it's important to understand the distinct differences. Authoring means that you're going to write every single word yourself from cover to cover. Editing means that you're going to manage a manuscript which will have individual chapter contributors. And there are some distinct differences between these two workflows, but I'm going to start first by highlighting some of their similarities. So both editors and authors should be known and respected experts in their field. They should be able to identify a market need, and this includes a clear understanding of the subject matter and a targeted audience for whom the content is for. They should be able to plan the scope of the content to ensure that all of the needs of the market are met. And they are supported by Elsevier's in-house staff throughout the entire publishing process, allowing them to produce the highest quality end product. And finally, both are paid by the publisher in the form of a royalty. Now, the differences. Volume editors, these are the people who are managing chapter contributors. They're expected to design a table of contents for the book very comprehensively, and they should fully cover the entire subject area. They need to secure all of the individual chapter authors, and they need to perform the overall scientific editorial review of each and every contributed chapter. Next are chapter authors. These are the people who will contribute chapters to the volume editor. Chapter authors will work closely with the volume editor, and they will plan chapter coverage, avoiding overlap or gaps in the book. They're expected to write between 7,000 and 10,000 words in about 6 months, and there is no payment to chapter authors, but there is also no fee to pay. Finally, volume authors. These are the people who are writing every single work from cover to cover. Volume authors are expected to write 100,000 words or more in about a year's time. They need to deliver a well-referenced manuscript. The manuscript will need to explain the science they're talking about and how to apply it. And it's also important for volume editors to have interdisciplinary experience, and this allows them to deliver content for readers that have varied backgrounds. So deciding which one of these workflows works best for your time and your experience and your capabilities is going to have an impact on how successful your authoring experience is. So now that you know the workflow better, it's time to talk about what makes a premium author or editor. The attributes of our premium authors, they vary by field and industry, but generally speaking, premium authors and editors are going to have some or all of the following things: a high quality publication rating, that's a good H index, a good standing at a well-known institution or company. They should be known for their broad knowledge of the subject area and an ability to share that knowledge in an interdisciplinary manner. They should have established connections in the field, and this is especially important if they're going to be the editor of a volume, because they need to solicit those chapter contributors from within their field. They should have a position in a related academic society or involvement in a key related journal. And after I go through that entire list, you're probably sitting there thinking to yourself, who in the world is going to meet all of that criteria? And if they did, How would they have time to write a book? Well, with that said, I do want to mention that exceptions have and can be made. So make sure if you have a book idea that you talk to an acquisitions editor and talk to them about your passion for the subject area and get involved that way to find out the best way to get publication. So now you're convinced that you should be an author or editor. Let's take a look at our publishing cycle. The first step is your book proposal. The proposal process is not intended to be daunting or intimidating. And a good acquisitions editor can help guide you through each step of the process. A standard book proposal form usually covers 7 key topic areas. The first is your title and topic. You want your topic to be broad enough that it's going to attract a large audience, but not so popular that the market is saturated with publications of this type. Also, carefully select your topic and find a title that succinctly summarizes it using keywords. People often want to give a flashy title, but if people cannot search your title, they can't find your content. So it's more important to use keywords than it is to be flashy. Next is the subject and market need. So really take time to discuss the need of your book and how it's going to fill that need in the market. Address any information gaps of your target audience and explain how your publication is going to take care of those. And your acquisitions editor can talk this out with you and help you formulate this. Next is your author credentials. What is it about you that makes you appropriate for the subject matter of this book? All those credentials that I talked about earlier are very important, but also your motivation. What is your story and why do you want to write this book? That's just as important. Your intended audience and its needs. Know your audience and tailor your content and the features of your book to address the needs that this audience has. Trying to make a very general book that appeals to everyone is not ideal. This approach always falls short and misses the needs of the market. It's better to target a group, a specific group, and meet their needs fully. Next is geography. Where would this topic sell best in the world, and why is that? Are there geographical limitations to your audience? And if there are, what are they? And what might be done to increase your international appeal? Next is competition. Are you aware of any recent publications or manuscripts in the works that are likely to compete with your proposed title? You should include the strengths and weaknesses of these titles, as well as how your title is going to be different and better. Finally, your manuscript specifications and timelines. How many pages are you going to have? How many figures do you think it will have? Do you need color for those figures? How long will it take you to write or put these chapters together? A high quality book proposal makes the review process go much more quickly, and it minimizes the need for multiple queries and rounds of edits. The more effort you put into your proposal up front, the more likely it is to be accepted. So at this point, you have a great proposal. So how do you find the right publisher for you? First of all, read or research new titles to find publishers with books on topics similar to your idea in the same general field. In addition, you can discuss with colleagues to find out where they publish and which books they use and which publishers they consider reputable. And don't be afraid to scan reference lists of books that you use to find out where researchers in your area tend to publish. Also, ask publishers about their global distribution strategy, where their office is located, what is their distribution strategy in third world countries, what percentage of their books are translated. And finally, with academic publishers now producing ebook versions of texts, consider the publisher's electronic strategy. Online presence allows your content to be more discoverable and reach a larger audience. When done with your proposal, be sure to make a strategic choice about where to send your proposal. So at this point, I want to take a moment to determine the people on this call, which workflow works best for you. Just going to launch this poll and just ask you, would you rather be an author, the person who writes the book all on your own? Would you rather edit? That's where you solicit chapters from contributors. Would you rather be a chapter contributor, giving your chapter to an editor? Or are you just not interested in writing at all? Okay, make sure to get your answer in there. I'm going to give it 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I'm going to end the polling. So I'm going to share the results now. We have 46% of the people on the call would like to be an author, writing the book all on their own from cover to cover, followed by chapter contributors who would send their chapters into the editors, who are 11%. And then we have 3% that are just not interested in writing books. Hopefully by the end of this, maybe I'll change their mind. So once you know the workflow that works best and you have your publisher in mind and your proposal is complete, it's time to submit it. Now, during this stage, the book proposal is going to go through several phases. First, it's submitted to the acquisitions editor, and the acquisitions editor will review it and may have some questions or additional information that you need to fill out. Once they're happy and satisfied with the proposal, they're going to send it out for peer review. Peer review can take anywhere from 2 weeks or more. And during this time, the acquisitions editor solicits reviews from the market, which they then compile. The AE will then create an editorial analysis and highlighted requests for changes to the scope of the content if they're needed. The editorial analysis is then reviewed by you as the author or editor, and a revised proposal is created together. Once both parties are happy with the scope of the content of the book, it is formally proposed at the publisher and is approved. After that approval, the acquisitions editor can deliver a contract to you. Elsevier uses DocuSign, which is fully secure online electronic system for signature. Your final manuscript due date will be clearly specified in the contract, and it is critical that you maintain this date as all sales and marketing efforts are tied to it. Copyright is held by Elsevier, and guidelines for your reuse as an author are outlined in the contract. Elsevier offers very reasonable terms for reuse as long as permission is granted. And copyright with Elsevier is important for both the global dissemination of the book content as well as the ability of Elsevier to be able to fight piracy on your behalf. And finally, editor and author royalties and complementary copies are outlined in the contract. So the next phase of the process is manuscript development. And during this phase, an editorial project manager, or EPM, is assigned to your project. EPMs are experts in manuscript development, and they're going to guide you through this process. They provide you with detailed author guidelines and advice. Your manuscript is delivered through our ELSA authoring platform, and this is something that I'm very excited about. ELSA is some of the most exciting technology to hit our publishing industry in a very long time, and it is exclusive to Elsevier. ELSA is an easy-to-use online end-to-end content creation platform. It's used by the authors, the editors, the contributors, and Elsevier staff, and it allows you to write and view real-time your manuscript with the click of a button. It is an amazing technology that allows you to see what used to take weeks in a matter of minutes. The platform allows for editing, seamless collaboration, and tracking of all of your chapters. And the best part is that it inherently creates richer content by providing suggesting tagging, linking, and structuring, which we know is so important for the discoverability of the content. So once your manuscript is complete, it's time to go to production. At this time, a production manager or PM is going to join the team. They will help you with the copy editing of your final draft manuscript, the proofreading, the indexing, and the manufacturing. During the copy edit phase, you're going to be responsible to review all suggested edits and accept and reject them. Copy editors will edit for grammar and spelling, but they're not responsible for the scientific content. That is your job as the author or editor. Elsevier provides proofreading on all of our chapters to ensure that the changes you request are implemented, saving you time. And Elsevier provides indexes for all titles, and these can be subject or alphabetical according to content needs. And the author and editor gets to review all of the indices before they're finalized. At the end of production, your book is manufactured. And this is the stage that determines the paper, the printer, and ensures the deadline that was set at the project start is met for all of the pre-sale orders. Upon publication, your title becomes part of the Science and Technology Division. And we serve more than 10 million researchers across 4,500 institutions in 100 countries. This gives your products the widest reach possible. And your title is available as both a traditional print book as well as an ebook. Finally, through our 130 abstracting and indexing service partners, your book content is indexed and available on discipline-specific databases. This is notable names like ScienceDirect, Thomson Reuters, ISI, Scopus, and our ebook library is also available and discoverable on more than 60 third-party retail library and specialty platforms, things like Amazon, Google Play, and Apple iBook. So this is our very last poll. I am just curious if you prefer books in print or online. Okay, I'm going to close in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I will share with you. So most people prefer both. That was 54% of us, followed by print at 32 and online at 15. Well, the good news is when you publish with Elsevier, you do get both. So after your book has published and it's available both online and in print, it's time for sales and marketing to go into full swing. And in addition to a full support sales team to promote your title, Elsevier has a very novel approach to book author marketing. And we moved from a product-focused marketing campaign to audience-driven. And we made this move due to the fact that customers use several different types of products over the course of their career, which makes it better for us to market all products to an audience instead of individual products to an audience. So this customer-centric marketing benefits our book authors because it's focused on driving product usage throughout the customer's entire life cycle. And our marketing program provides updates to the author and market throughout the entire publication process. And this includes book release information, book reviews, and announcements for any awards that are received, as well as a quarterly author newsletter. And this has hints, tips, and marketing advice for our authors and editors to make the most out of their book publicity. We also provide event support in the form of booths at the major scientific meetings and promotional materials at smaller meetings. And of course, all of that has been on hold since COVID, but we still have that available once things open back up. Finally, we have a very large social media presence. We have a SciTech Connect proprietary blog, which allows our authors and editors to share content with their audience even after their book publication, so that they're still drawing people back to their content. And we maintain over 22 subject-specific communities across 68 different accounts, and we reach over 3.2 million fans on Facebook, Google+, LinkedIn, and Twitter. But most importantly, we ensure abstracting and indexing databases are optimized for searchability, making your content discoverable. It's my hope that this presentation has given you insight into not only why books are important, but that there's never been a better time to be involved in writing a book than right now. With your new insight into Elsevier's book business and a full understanding of the entire publishing cycle, you're now ready to author, edit it, or contribute to a book. So thank you very much, and I think we're going to open things up for questions.
Thank you, Stacy. Please, if you have any question, please, if you could type it directly on the chat. Any question, so we could answer it directly for you. So far, I believe everybody was paying close attention to your presentation, Stacy, for sure. I could see a lot of thanking for the presentation. All right. All right. Thanks. It was so clear. I could see on the chat.
Okay.
Excellent. Waiting for more presentations to come. Interesting. Perfect. Thanks so much. All right. Oh, great. Oh, we got a first question. I got it directly. Over here is, what is the most, the biggest benefits for making chapters for the first time? What will be the benefits?
Yeah, one of the biggest benefits of being a chapter contributor is being able to work collaboratively with so many people from so many places, because an edited book is truly a global approach to a subject, and it allows you the opportunity to work with people on a topic that you care about, that are from all over the world, that are all contributing to one project, and it gives you that experience. Also, every time your chapter gets cited, your name gets out there. So there is that benefit as well. But I think the bigger benefit is that collaboration that happens internationally on an edited book.
Perfect. Thank you, Stacy. We got another question. Is can Elsevier projects to publish books? Can Elsevier projects to publish books which is devoted for patents? I don't get the question exactly. If you could please rephrase it. Elsevier projects.
Maybe having to do with patents?
Yeah, with patents.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
Stacey, if you could please share.
No, so we don't publish a book that would just be dedicated to a patent. Of course, it can have patent information in it, but it wouldn't be the sole focus of the book. So obviously, getting a patent is a completely different process than writing a book. You go through the patent office, and there's forms you have to fill out and proof you have to give. So that's a completely different workflow and process and group that you would work with for your patent. I hope that answers it.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you, Stacy. We have a comment. Thanks a lot for motivational ideas for promising authors from Dr. Khan. Excellent. Oh, yeah, we have another question. Does publishing fees with Elsevier are high? So basically, what are the publishing fees?
There are no fees for books, so don't confuse. You know, journals handle things differently than books. I don't speak to them. I know you heard about journals earlier. In books, there are no fees for authors. There are no fees for contributors. There are no fees for editors. No fees paid whatsoever. We pay you as the expert to write the book for us, and that's in the form of a royalty. So you make a certain percentage on the sales of the books.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you, Stacy. We have another question over here about the difference between, well, in this case, a publishing journal article and book chapters.
Yeah. So the difference is that when you write a journal article, it's going to go into one of Elsevier's journals. When you write a book chapter, it's going to go into one of our books. Now, all of that content goes into Science Direct and it's all intermingled and people use it all. But at the end of the day, you're either going to be holding your work in a book or a journal. So they're just two different formats that people can purchase.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you, Stacy. Another question over here is there a specific number of chapters per book?
I love that question because I get it all the time from especially new authors. So yes and no, I guess, is the answer. So there's no specific number that anyone's looking for. What I ask authors who are working with me to do is put together a table of contents that they believe best represents the content they're trying to put out. Um, and that usually makes people very nervous because they're not sure if they're doing the right thing and they're not sure if they're remembering everything. So I generally say for a first time book, you're looking at between 10 and 15 chapters and about 300 printed pages. So that's a guideline for you. But I don't like my authors and editors when they're doing a proposal to restrict themselves to that, because if you feel the best book is 9 chapters and that covers everything, I don't want you to just come up with a 10th chapter just because I said 10 to 15 chapters. And if you think 25 chapters makes the best book possible in your field, I don't want you to cut that down to 15 because I said 10 to 15. So I really like you as the person who is a subject matter expert to tell me how many chapters you think is really needed to tell the story that you want to tell.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, Stacy. Yeah, we have a question over here about, I believe, regarding the publishing structure. I could see. If you have any example as a reference, Stacy, about the difference between Elsevier as a publisher and other publishers. I don't know if you...
Yeah, that's a really good question. I've only worked for 3 publishers in my career, so I don't have a vast experience with a ton of different publishers. But I guess, you know, the workflows are similar, but what I can say for Elsevier is that, you know, when you're going through the book process, you're really given an entire team to help you through every step of the way. So as I was talking about each one of those phases that you would go through, where you know you're starting with your proposal and you've got an acquisitions editor, and then you go into development and you've got a project manager, and then you move on from there, and there's a manufacturing person, and there's somebody for every step of the way to help you through the process. And I think that's very unique to Elsevier. And these are people who their entire career has been spent honing their skills in this particular area of publishing. And I think that provides much better guidance to our authors than I've seen in other publishers. I hope that's what was meant by that question.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Stacy. And over here, I could see the last question in the chat is if you could speak more about the pros and the cons of investing in writing a book versus writing journal articles.
Sure. So, there's
Yeah.
there's a lot of different motivations for writing a
Yeah.
book, and our authors, have told us many of them. And I think, one of the most interesting that I like, and it always makes me smile, is that people really like the prestige that comes from writing a book. And journal articles are great, and they help your H index, and they're very important for science. And I talked about all of the reasons why journal articles are important. Um, but think about books. I cover the gastroenterology area, so think about standing around talking to some of your colleagues, and you're talking about the gastrointestinal microbiome, and somebody says something, you go, "Oh yeah, I wrote a book on that." There's a certain amount of prestige that comes with that, with having written a book or contributed to a book. um, Also, a lot of times there's a gap in the knowledge in the field that you're working, and journals can't quite fit that because, again, it's the latest stuff, and it's got to be quick, and it's got to get out there, and you read it this week and it's old next week. A book has more longevity, and you can fill certain gaps in the field with that longevity by pointing out those gaps, by being able to cover them from different perspectives. It's very hard to do that in a short journal article. You just don't have the pages to be able to have multiple voices and multiple ideas going on at the same time. You can really dig into a subject area and cover it in a way that could never be done in a journal article.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Stacy. We continue with the questions. So really great. Suddenly, we start receiving more questions. So here we have, how many months do you think the publication cycle take? Around.
From the time that we would have an initial conversation until you had a book in your hands, it can take anywhere between 10 to 17 months. And that really depends on the size of the book, your schedule, what all the different factors. But you're talking about, at least a year commitment of your time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you, Stacy. We have a question here regarding, sometimes we receive emails to publish an already published paper as a book chapter. Is this ethical?
No, so I would certainly hope that you're not receiving any of those from Elsevier. I don't know of anybody who would be sending you one of those.
Yeah.
That is not, it's not ethical to republish, especially if you're going to sell the book, because people have already purchased that journal or purchased that content elsewhere, so it's not right to repackage it and then sell it again. So good. I just saw the chat come up that it was not from Elsevier.
Yeah,
so
not from Elsevier.
Yeah, that's not an ethical
clarify.
thing to be asked to do.
Excellent, excellent, Stacy. Thank you. Over here, what is the difference between a review article and a book chapter?
So a review article going into a journal is reviewing, again, one of those latest areas, and it's going to cover it, in depth and very deeply. When you're doing a book chapter, you're part of a larger scope of a subject area. So there's 15 to 20 chapters in that book, and you're a part of that story. The editor who's in charge of that is looking at how all of those chapters work together to tell that larger story about the subject area. So that breadth of coverage, the how things fit together interdisciplinary. So again, you're a part of that story. Where when you're doing a review article, that's that's all there is. You're reviewing that one topic.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you, Stacy. At the moment, that's the only questions that we have received at this point. I think we could just leave it broad for the following, leave it open, I mean, for the following minutes. I'm going to announce about the certificate. So we receive a question. So before
Okay.
is it better to publish a book with many authors from different countries?
So I wouldn't say so I guess I need a little bit more information about the question. So better it's better to include a global perspective always. So having people from all over the world helps you accomplish that. That said, if you're a single author who's writing, you can't do that because you're writing the whole book yourself. That doesn't make your book less than an edited work, because I still believe that a single author can still have a global perspective of a topic. I just think you have to work a little harder at it. So I don't want to say it's better, but if you are doing an edited work, you definitely should be looking for global contribution.
All right. All right. Thank you, Stacy.
I'm also just going to
Yeah,
put my email into the
absolutely.
chat. So if
Oh, that
anyone
would be
has
great.
questions afterwards, they can contact me, or a proposal that they want to send.
That
Happy
would
to
be
get those
great.
too.
Thank you. Thank you, Stacy. We got a very last question over here about plagiarism. They are asking about the plagiarism percentage, around the maximum percentage it should be to publish the book. How much maximum percentage it should be to publish
So I would like to see 0%, obviously, right? We don't want any plagiarism in our books. There really isn't a reason for it. So
Manual, right?
if you are going to use someone else's work in your book, or you need to use that, you should always reference it, and by referencing it, then you're not plagiarizing it. So I say 0%.
0%, right? Excellent. Excellent. Yes, indeed. Stacy, another question. How long should I wait before sending an email to ask about my submitted manuscript status?
Okay, so I just need to know, is this a journals question or a book question? If that person could just clarify that.
Yeah, that'll be great. That'll be great. And on the meanwhile, Stacy, I'm going to mention about the certificate very quickly over here. I just wrote in the chat the link to access to Research Academy. When you access directly to this link, I'm just gonna post it again in the chat. If you access directly, basically what it's going to ask you is to please insert the code in capital letters BJNVAY. With this code, it's going to take you to a very short survey about the workshop, about this author workshop, and then you'll be able to download your certificate in PDF format. So if you could please follow these instructions to download it. And yeah, we're just waiting for the answer on the if it's for a book or a journal.
So I guess I'll speak to the book portion.
All right,
since,
yeah, that'll be great. Yes, thank you.
So if you're at the point when you have already submitted your manuscript, so the pages of the book, to Elsevier, at that point you will already have a project manager assigned to your title, and you'll be getting weekly updates of what's going on with your manuscript. If you're talking about the proposal for the book, that's that first step that we talked about where you sort of outline the book and you're looking for approval from the publisher to go forward. Um, the acquisitions editor will be in touch with you, and it takes about 2 weeks for you to hear back. And if you haven't heard back in those 2 weeks, you should contact them. The journal process is very different. So I'm not going to get into that because I'm here for books. But for books, it should be about 2 weeks for your proposal that you hear back. And when you have your manuscript in development, you will get weekly updates from that project manager who's working with you through that process.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Stacy. Yeah, I believe that was the very last question that we have. I think that we are doing really great on time as well. Someone asked me to please repeat about the certificate. So I posted again the link directly. Please access to this link. It will take you directly to the Research Academy from Elsevier. Over there on the right side, if you insert the certificate code, which is BJNVAY, all in capital letters, if you click submit, it will take you to answer a short survey. Afterwards, you will be able to download the certificate as a PDF format. So yes, and if you have any questions, of course, you could contact me as well. I will leave you my email over here, n.garcia@elsevier.com. I am a customer consultant for ebooks for the region. So if anything that we could support you, we would be more than happy to do it. And also, thank you so much, Stacy, for this excellent presentation. We received so many messages over here on the chat about thank you. I think this is a really, really interesting process on how to publish ebooks. And as well, I believe that you wrote your email as well on the chat, Stacy. So
I did.
Excellent.
And I hope to see some proposals from folks, or at least reach out to me if you have additional questions. I'd love to talk to you more about it.
That would be great. That would be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalia. Thank you, Mrs. Stacy. You're all welcome in Jazan University, and Jazan University is very happy with the team from Elsevier.
That's
Thank
really
you.
great to hear. Thank you so much for all the coordination for this workshop, and we look forward to keep in contact with all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Stacy. Thank you, everybody.
السادة الحضور، نشكر حضوركم ونرجو لكم الإفادة دائما مع ورش وحدة البحث العلمي بالكلية الجامعية بصمتة. وإن شاء الله بإذن الله موعدنا في يوم الثلاثاء القادم إن شاء الله 11 صباحا مع ورشة جديدة مع فريق السيفير مع دكتور وائل منصور. إن شاء الله موعدنا الثلاثاء القادم. ننتظركم بشوق، والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.